Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about solving quadratics. This time we're going to use the formula. So let's go ahead and take a look at the quadratic formula. So here is the quadratic formula. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. And we're going to use this quadratic formula if we're going to have a solution that can't be factored easily. Solutions can be displayed as either integers or left in radical form. Now let's talk about part of the formula known as the discriminant. The discriminant is part of the quadratic formula where we have b squared minus 4ac, and the discriminant can be used to determine how many solutions are in a quadratic equation. So for example, if the discriminant is positive, that tells us that there are 2 solutions. If it's 0, it tells us there's 1 solution, and if it's negative, that means there are no solutions. So now let's practice finding the discriminant on our own. So here in example A, we've got 3 different examples. We're going to try and find the discriminants. So the first one, we've got x squared minus 3x minus 4. So we're going to just substitute in for A, B, and C. So in this case, our B is going to be negative 3. So applying negative 3 squared minus 4, which we know, times A, which in this case is 1, and times C, which in this case is negative 4. Now, if we do this correctly in our Desmos calculator, it will do the work for us. And if we do that, we end up getting 25. So is 25 positive? It is. So that tells us that there are 2 solutions. All right, for the next one, same thing. We're going to substitute in. So this time we're going to substitute in for our b. In this case, our b is 2. So we've got 2 squared minus 4 times negative 1. Remember to include the signs. That's very important. Times negative 1. And again, we're going to put our Desmos calculator to work. So we're going to do 2 squared times, or minus 4 times negative 1 times negative 1. And we're going to get 0. And because we have 0, we know the number of the solutions is going to be 1. Now taking a look at our last one there, again, we're going to be substituting in. In this case, we've got negative 2. Remember to always use our parentheses when we have a negative there, especially because otherwise our Desmos calculator is not going to know the order of operations for us. Minus 4 times 1 is going to be 2, and times C is going to be 3. We do that all together, and we're going to get negative 20. So in this case, because we've got a negative, that means that we have 0 solutions or no solutions available to us. Now let's go ahead and use the quadratic formula to solve. So here in example B, it says find the solution to the equation. And we've got our quadratic formula down there, so we know what we need to plug in. So first we got to figure out our A. So our A is going to be 2, our B is going to be negative 7, and our C is going to be negative 13. All right, so now we're going to substitute that into the quadratic formula. But notice the quadratic formula has a plus or minus here. This is very important, because we're going to need to find both the positive and negative root of this if it has 2 solutions. And again, we can start by finding how many solutions we have by using our discriminant. So in this case, we're going to have our b squared here. So our b squared is going to be, in this case, negative 7. So we'll have negative 7, plug that in, that's going to be squared, minus 4 times our a, which is 2, times negative 13, which is our c. If we do that, we end up getting 153, so that we know we have a positive discriminant, so that tells us that we're going to have 2 solutions to this. So we're going to have to make sure that we use both the positive and the negative when we plug into our quadratic formula here. So let's go ahead and do that now by substituting in what we have for negative b. So we're going to have negative b, which is going to be negative 7 in this case. All right, we're going to have plus the square root of b squared, which is going to be negative 7 squared. All minus 4 times 2 times c, which is going to be negative 13. And then that's all going to be divided by 2 times 2, because a is 2. So that's for our positive version of running the equation. We also have to do so for our negative version of this equation. So again, we're going to have minus, then this time we're going to have negative 7, because that's again our b. Okay, this time we'll have minus the square root of b squared, which again is going to be negative 7 squared. Again, we're going to do minus 4 times a, which is going to be 2, times c, which is going to be negative 13. And again, that's all going to be over 2 times the square root of 2. Now we must follow the order of operations. So in this case, we're going to do everything under the square root symbol first, because that's a grouping symbol and exponents are going to come before anything else. So we're going to make sure that we do everything under the square root first. Now, because the only difference between these is plus and minus there at the front, I'm going to run everything under the square root symbol the same, because that's going to be the same regardless of if I'm adding negative times -7 or if I'm subtracting negative times -7, it's going to end up being the same. So when I do everything under the square root symbol, I'm going to end up getting 149 plus 104, which is going to give me the square root of 153. So I've got the square root of 153, and again, I'm going to have 7 plus or minus times 2, which is going to be 4. All right, so I know that I've got that there. Now, the square root of 153 can be simplified, but not all the way. When I go ahead and simplify the square root of 153, I end up with 3 radical 17. So I've got 3 radical 17 as what's actually going to come out there. All right, now again, that's going to be plus 7 divided by 4, but it's also going to be 7 minus 3, the square root of 17 divided by 4. And again, because this isn't going to look pretty, and it's not going to look pretty because, of course, we're finding 2 different roots here, and we've decided to use the quadratic formula because we know that our roots weren't going to work out perfectly. So our final answers are x equals 7 minus 3, the square root of 17 divided by 4, and x 7 plus 3, the square root of 17 divided by 4. Because again, when we use our quadratic formula, we're using it with the intent in mind that our roots are not going to come out very nice and neat. Now let's take a look at the next example. All right, here we are at example B, and again, we're going to start by finding our A, B, and C. So our A in this case is -1, our B is going to be +8, and our C is going to be 5. So I'm going to start again by finding the discriminant to determine, do I have 1 solution, 2 solutions, no solutions? Okay, so I've got B squared, so in that case it's going to be 8. So I've got 8 squared minus 4 times -1 times C, which is going to be 5. When I do that, I end up getting 84, letting me know that I've got both a positive and negative solution, or root, to this case, or 0, however you want to call it, for this particular equation. All right, so now I know I'm going to use the plus or minus. And I'm not going to write out both versions like I did in the last one because I want to just keep track of what we're doing. So let's go ahead and substitute everything in. So I've got negative b, so that's going to be negative b, which in this case is going to be 8. That's going to be minus or plus. We've got both of these versions here because we've got 2 roots. We know that. We've got b squared is going to be 8 squared. We're going to go ahead and do minus 4, which is going to be -1, times c, which is going to be 5. And that's going to be all over 2 times a, which is 2 times -1. All right, now again, we're going to run the order of operations here. So we're going to do everything under the parentheses, or under the square root symbol first. So let's go ahead and do that. So 8 squared is going to be 64. So again, we got minus 8 plus or minus, okay, again, the square root of 64. And then we've got -4 times -1 times 5, which is going to be +20. And that's going to be all over 2 times -1, which is going to be -2. All right, so now we've got to keep going here, and we've got plus or minus to break down to. 64 plus 20 is going to give us 80. All right, so we're going to end up with, again, we've got -8 on the parentheses there, plus or minus the square root of 84 divided by -2. So now it's time to simplify our radical. So the simplified radical of 84 is going to be 2 to the square root of 21. So again, now we're going to split into our 2 because we have our plus and our minus. So we got -8 on this side. So we've got -8 plus 2 times the square root of 21, all divided by -2. We also have -8 minus 2, the square root of 21, divided by -2. All right, so now we're going to divide everything by -2 here. So -8 divided by -2, negative divided by a negative is going to be a +4. Positive 2 divided by -2 is going to give me -1. I'm just going to write that. So we got negative the square root of 21. All right, and nothing left on the bottom. On the other side, we're going to do the same thing. We've got -8 divided by -2. That's going to give us, again, +4. But this time, negative divided by a negative is going to give us a positive square root of 21. And those are our 2 roots, our 2 solutions, is 4 minus the square root of 21 and 4 plus the square root of 21. Now again, remember, these are not going to look pretty because we've decided to use the quadratic formula, and we've done that when we know that factoring isn't going to look pretty for us. That brings us to the end of this problem. It also brings us to the end of this set of notes and this video. If you like this video, go ahead and say thumbs up. If you like this video, go ahead and say sub, and we will catch you in the next one.